know we've said this a lot, but another big week for Brexit is shaping up, starting with what will likely be a Monday to watch. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson will meet with his Irish counterpart, Leo Varadkar, in Dublin in just a few hours, and they're expected to discuss the likelihood of Britain striking a new deal on the Irish backstop. Mr. Varadkar says he is not expecting a breakthrough right now. Also, the new law blocking the British government from enacting a no-deal Brexit is set to take effect Monday. That means Mr. Johnson would need to come up with a new trade deal with the EU or ask for a third Brexit extension. He says he'd rather be, quote, dead in a ditch than see another delay. And the Prime Minister's team is trying to push through a vote on a snap election, but his opponents vow to quash it. Joining me now is Nile Gardiner, director of the Heritage Foundation's Margaret Thatcher Center for Freedom. Nile is a Brexiteer and supporter of the Prime Minister. Mr. Gardiner, thanks for coming on with us.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Well, last week was certainly interesting. Some couch it as disastrous for Boris Johnson. His brother resigns, then a top cabinet member, Amber Rudd, goes as well, citing what she called his political vandalism. What's your reaction to these developments?
Well, it's no surprise, I think, that Amber Rudd has resigned. After all, she is a Remainer. She has not been a supporter of a no-deal Brexit at all, even though she made a pledge to Boris Johnson that she would back a no-deal if necessary. I think that with Amber Rudd, I mean, she represents the Remainer wing of the Conservative Party, which is really a small minority within the Conservative Party. So her resignation is no surprise. I think that she's really, of course, let the Prime Minister down, let the British government down, and also let the British people down, because, after all, the British people voted to leave the European Union. They expect their members of Parliament to support a swift Brexit. And I think that Amber Rudd is someone whose heart was never in Brexit. She fought against Brexit during the referendum, and I think she represents a wing of the Conservative Party now that no longer really has a home in the Conservative Party, and individuals who are not willing to implement the biggest British democratic vote in recent history.
Well,
so
it's been said that the Conservatives have never been this split in 30 years. How will this affect the process? Will it at this juncture?
Well, I think the Prime Minister has made it absolutely clear that he is not willing to support an extension to Article 50, a delay to Brexit to the end of January, as Remainer MPs are insisting on. And I expect that Boris Johnson is going to strongly resist any effort to force him to seek a delay or seek an extension. And I expect the government is going to challenge the Remainer legislation in the courts. And if the British government is forced by the Supreme Court to move forward with seeking an extension, I expect that Downing Street will attach all sorts of conditions to any kind of extension, conditions that I think the European Union will find unacceptable. And already the French Foreign Minister has indicated that France is unwilling at present to support any extension to Brexit. And so I do believe that Brexit is still on the cards for October 31st. The British government is 100% committed to leaving the EU on October 31st. I think the British public as well expects Britain to leave the European Union at the end of October. And that is what the Prime Minister is committed to doing. This is a battle really between the British people and some wings of Parliament who are adamantly opposed to the democratic will of the British people.
But if there is if Brexit takes place October 31st, if there's a no-deal Brexit, do you fear the ramifications of that?
No, I don't, actually. In fact, I have complete confidence in Britain. I think Britain is going to do just fine under a no-deal Brexit. Britain is the world's 5th largest economy. I believe it is doing extremely well in the approach to Brexit. Foreign investment continues to flow into the United Kingdom. You haven't seen an exodus of companies. And across Europe already, the preparations are being made for a no-deal Brexit, from France to Belgium to Germany. And I expect that all of the doom and gloom, the fear-mongering that is in place with regard to the idea of a no-deal Brexit will really come to nothing. And I think that Britain will thrive and prosper outside of the European Union.
Why are you so confident of that when yet so many people say economically this will be disastrous?
Well, the same people, of course, were saying that it would be disastrous for Britain to stay out of the European single currency. And actually, Britain's done extremely well outside of the single currency. And I think that Britain in the Brexit era is going to be a global force to be reckoned with. Britain is a highly innovative, entrepreneurial country with rising economic freedom. This is a nation that has been one of the greatest nations in the world for many, many centuries. It will continue to be so. And also as a great free trading power once more, freed of the shackles of the European Union Customs Union, Britain will be able to strike free trade deals across the world, including with the United States. And here in the United States, of course, the U.S. administration is actively preparing already for a large-scale free trade agreement between London and Washington, a trade deal that is going to be a force generator for prosperity and jobs on both sides of the Atlantic. There's 100% support
well, I'm sure
in the White House for such a deal.
People would hope that what you say is true because it looks like Boris Johnson will stick to his guns. As he said, he'd rather die in a ditch than go back to the EU. Do you think he's going, any chance he would go back to the EU, or is that off the table? We have just a few seconds left.
Well, I think that Boris Johnson has made it absolutely clear that an extension to Article 50 would be a betrayal of the British people, a surrender to the European Union. He's not prepared to go down that path. And I do believe that Britain is going to leave the EU on October 31st, deal or no deal. And that is what the British people expect. And I think that you have a Prime Minister now who is promising to deliver the will of the British people. And that's a breath of fresh air in contrast to Theresa May. And I think that Boris Johnson is going to make a great success out of Brexit.
All right. Well, time will tell soon enough, will it not? We appreciate your insights. Thank you so much for joining us, Nile
My pleasure.
Gardiner.
Thank you very much.